Hello, my name is Ranelle Wolfe, and I thank you for joining Humanity Matters through the umbrella of art and everything under that umbrella, from song, words, film, communication. Today, I have the most incredible opportunity, and I've been extremely excited. Our guest today is Gaitley Stevenson Mathews, a communication professional voice and speech coach and longtime arts leader. He spent more than 20 years as a professional actor and director, founded nonprofits supporting the arts and veterans, and now serves as Community Engagement Officer at the Holocaust Memorial Intolerance Center. He brings a unique perspective on how art, voice, and communication can connect us across history and community. So please join me in welcoming Gaitley Stevenson Mathews. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will tell you that is such a beautiful introduction, and I appreciate it. Like you, I'm involved in so many different things, and I always feel like, sadly, I think people oftentimes leave their creativity at the door if they're going into other aspects of what they do in the world. And I will say I feel a kindred spirit, if I may say, and that is not you at all, nor is that me.
Well, that's lovely, because by doing this research on you, which is just a treasure trove for me, I wanted to tell our listeners what my experience was. So yesterday, I do a lot of intensive research, but I decided to take more after a walk on the beach, and I listened to what you had sent me, the song. And as I'm listening to the music, you're a genius with your website, with whatever you sent me, because you're a genius. I heard your words, and at the same time, your voice like an angel.
And was this my Gaitley.biz website with my Scottish music?
Yes.
Okay, yes. I don't know whether that was Loch Lomond or which one was that, but thank you.
But here's the other thing, that what you sent me, and then it really took me back to what I believe the essence is. So you had in your song with the children's program, and you were learning simple truths like putting on warm clothes when it's cold, or naming their feelings. And children absorb wisdom so naturally that way.
It's cold. I built a snowman yesterday. I know that he won't melt away because it's cold. It's cold.
But now, in this climate of hate, we need something new. And with all of your creative experience, knowing structure, resilience, and how to rise like a phoenix, which I see this is what you have done with your life. How do we create stories or songs today that not only teach goodness, but love and live in it? So can you tell me about that?
Well, I will say, and I'm thinking in terms of, I know we exchanged lots of different things. I know, for example, on my website, Gaitley.biz, there's some of my Scottish folk music and such. And then you may have also seen, and may have been referring to my Barney gig as
the Barney.
Monty the Mountie, which was a wonderful opportunity I had. And I will say, related to your question, when I first ran for office, someone said to me, you know, Gaitley, this Barney, this character you played on Barney and Friends of Monty the Mountie, I don't know that I would really bring that up. And the thing I said to that person, I said, you know, what Barney teaches us in his songs, and granted they are very elementary, but it is for elementary kids. But I said, you know, Barney teaches us to take turns. He teaches us to be thoughtful, and he teaches us to really approach things in a very positive way. I think maybe we need more of that in government. And of course, he just laughed at from that point forward, I am proud of my performance things, from my folk music to lots of classical work to musical theater. I will say the one that often is remembered, just especially from millennials, is that role playing Monty the Mountie on Barney and Friends. But I will say music makes such a difference. And I will say also just the creative aspect. I feel like when we try to make a difference oftentimes in politics, when we try to make a difference in, committees and such, that is so vitally important. And in fact, I'm thinking about Symphony of Hope and Bernie Firstpan, who's the executive director or executive producer of this podcast. He and I, along with others, were involved in that. But oftentimes, when we can't move the needle in other ways, in the arts and in music, the fact that it frees up the soul, it opens the spirit, and it allows us to forget that we're supposed to be angry. It gives us some freedom.
Right.
And that freedom is where, for me, spirit exists. And when we can tap into that spirit, and I can connect with you on that level, then I realize that culturally, we may come from very different backgrounds. Racially, we may come from very different backgrounds. Our religions may be very different, but there's a common thread.
Right.
And I think the arts, more than anything else, are a platform. All of the arts are a platform for getting there, and oftentimes getting there in one way that then we can come back and add policy. Then we can come back and make a difference as we move forward. So that's kind of my take on how the arts and music can make such a difference in this world.
Well, I love what you're saying, a lot of things, because I've been reading and rereading The Care of the Soul. I want to master it.
Okay.
I want to master it. I want to understand it. Because what you're saying on such a very deep level, you've been a councilman. You're in politics. We don't talk. We don't have no need to talk political. That's the least important. It's the way we're going to deliver education. But I don't think anybody should have said, I don't think you should talk about Barney, because the reason I highlighted and what that experience was, listening to your music and then hearing about the quality of your life and your grandmother and how that moved you and the work ethic. You see, if we don't teach our children, we're teaching them ethics.
I cannot agree more.
Ethics. Yes. And so what you're doing, if we don't start out with the children, because we are, as Picasso said, we're born artists, we destroy it. We destroy our soul. So soul and art is the conversation here. But I'm so impressed with you.
Very kind.
No, as someone deeply experienced in communication and social media, how do you see new platforms shaping the way we connect people to art and history? At the same time, social media often fuels division and hate. So how do we reclaim it as a space for beauty, creativity, and tolerance? And how do you use this as a councilman to heal the world? So I wanted to connect the dots as a historian. History is a horizontal line. You start with how you educate children is so important. And then in the arts, social media, which is our currency, and we have made a mess of it.
Yes, I agree we've made a mess of it. And I will say, and to be clear, I'm a former city councilman and honored to have served. And now I sit on many boards and serve in other ways, including here at the Holocaust Center. But I will say, as far as the connection of children and how we learn, and I'm so pleased you brought up my grandmother. She was.
I love that.
She graduated from a women's Presbyterian college in 1907. Then worked as an accountant for the railroad. In the South at a time when women really did not work outside the home. In fact, the big apparently there was a brouhaha by virtue of the fact that my grandmother would take the train into work every day. She would pick it up in her little rural community and go into town.
North Carolina.
North Carolina. But she would take the train in to work unchaperoned. There was no chaperone with her as she went into work. But, you know, she worked as an accountant in banking and in finance for close to 20 years before she then got married at 30 and had a family and such. But that same grandmother is the woman who, all through high school, I worked at a clothing store. And during the summers, I would take my lunch at my grandmother's because she was older, so I would make the meal. So, you know, there was some concern about leaving things on the stove and such. Yes. But I learned so much from her about community and serving the community, and also about entrepreneurship. I would walk in and she'd say, "How are your sales today? You know, how is business?"
I love it.
And I think that connection, when we have the intergenerational connection, it makes such a big difference. Now, how that relates to social media today, I mean, this is back in the late 70s, who could have imagined where we are today? I do think there is lots of evil out there and horrible, old-fashioned, horrible things on social media. The power of that is just frightening and horrible. But there is also good. And you can use it. It's like any tool. Any tool can be used for good, and it can be used for bad. I think about good. You think about even something as basic as Humanity Matters, the fact that this podcast, and I don't know if this is the 250th podcast, but as I understand, it's coming up soon if it's not this one. But the fact that, you know, this gets streamed on so many different platforms and can be reached by so many different people who are maybe interested in what we're trying to do here. I mean, that's just one example of how you can find so many good things. I think about the little hometown, the tiny little town I grew up in, which is dear to my heart. I don't get home often, and my parents are deceased at this point, and I have lots of distant cousins in that little town, Red Springs, North Carolina. But I love the fact that you could be somewhere in remote areas of Africa or little tiny towns in North Carolina or some metropolis, and you can have a window into how other people live. And again, back to this whole idea with how we bridge the gap with music, we bridge the gap with education. And when I'm in this little town in North Carolina, or I'm in this, remote village in Africa, or, somewhere in the UK, wherever you are, the fact that I can know a little bit more about your culture in a way that we have never had before.
Right, amazing.
And rather than fueling hate, we can fuel love. And we can find where we are more alike than we are different. And I love the fact that you're different. I don't want you to be like me. I don't want to live anywhere where everyone is the same. It's as if the goal is to live somewhere where everyone is the same. I can't think of one, anything more boring. And two, I would not feel very much alive. I feel alive when I understand and get to know other people. And I think human nature, humanity matters. Where we become more human is when we understand each other, and that we are by spirit and blood related. And I just feel that's essential.
Well, you're a professional singer. People go to a museum and perhaps they think you have to be professional. But as the Care of the Soul says, and through Jung and Plato and Aristotle, it's the quality of the life and the art. So what could we perhaps do at the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center artistically to maybe do more?
Well, I would say much of that has already started. We had a beautiful musical presentation of The Diary of Anne Frank.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So it was a wonderful musical presentation. And in some ways,
That's lovely.
you think in terms of, oh, well, we think of musical as being light and fun but this, and they are. But also, as we know with any lyric theater, when the thoughts are too big to be
Interesting.
expressed with just words alone, that lyrical nature brought into the equation can bring it to a spiritual place that you might not experience any other way. And they did a magnificent job with that particular, with the Diary of Anne Frank. And that cast was just tremendous. And again, it's not typically how you might think that might be expressed. And it may not be your favorite way of understanding it, but it may touch you in a way that it doesn't touch me, or it may touch someone else. And the fact that we can learn on so many different levels and through the arts can find new opportunities for people to understand who may not be reached in another way. We are all wired differently. And, sometimes they think, oh, well, the way you're wired is really, maybe you're a mathematician and that's how your brain works. Or, maybe you're, you're more mechanical. You can take a car apart and put it back together, that somehow one way of being wired is better than the other. But it's not, because we all have something to bring to the equation. Yes. But how we relate, given that we all have different wiring and the fact that we all have different history, why in the world would you ever limit our opportunities of learning to one way? And I would say, again, that is just one example. I would say here at the center, at every turn, we're looking to find new opportunities to engage in social media, to pull other people in so they can be directly involved with what we're doing. Again, not for nothing. This podcast itself is doing exactly that. And so in that way, I feel like the center is doing that. And to the center's credit, is always looking for more opportunities to do that. And I think that's the thing to do. It's a creative group, I'll tell you that.
No, the center is amazing. The people here are amazing. Walking in to the center, you don't walk out the same. So I tell everyone, everybody has to come here to the center, because you walk into darkness in a sense, but you walk out with light and hope. Your soul is changed. What does the soul mean to you?
Wow, what does the soul mean to me? As a voice and speech coach, and in most of my work, what do we do that doesn't involve the voice? I talk an awful lot about spirit and how breath is related to spirit, and certainly breath is related to the soul. And whether you're a singer or a speaker, if you're going to hit that high note, or if you're going to express a score or a libretto, the breath that goes in is as important, if not more important, than what comes out. And I think of breath as spirit, because that is the power that we get inside. And oftentimes when I talk about sharing, again, whether it's a singer or where I began my work primarily was as a voice and speech coach with singers and actors, and oftentimes singers doing operetta. But I talk about the soul being right here. Wow. And I say just a zipper here, the zipper comes down, and you don't speak from here, you speak from here.
So that's the heart.
That's the heart.
So
absolutely.
So what you're saying, and
No,
hold your thought, because I'm loving it. But the parallel is in art, and some people don't understand abstract art. But one of the most important things about art and composition, it's a word called plasticity. And it means it's what you're saying, it's push and pull. What comes in must go out.
Yes.
Because think of
a
a flat picture plane. You can't poke. the hole into it.
Yes.
That's not depth. I teach that. So you're
Oh,
giving me the
it's-
shivers. I'm having the shivers here. Oh my God.
I'm feeling
that's
it myself.
just
That's
great.
good.
Yes. So
Yes.
So what you're saying in Chagall, when he was teaching in Belarus, at the time of the revolution, and he thought we were all freed and everybody, could be free. He said to his students, you have to be real. It has to have emotion. You have to have love in it. Nobody else spoke
and
like
I will say
Chagall.
related to that, and this is in all things. So the breath is the spirit. Where it all happens is in the transition. In the transition. So you think about a singer or a speaker, the moment that what gets shared is big. But what makes that big is that thought or that breath that comes the split second before it. And in all things in life, the transitions are what make us remember things. The moment that something hits us right here that brings on a tear or brings on a gasp. And it's all cyclical, it's all rhythmic, it is all grounded in the earth, it is as organic as it can be. And while our faith and our religions and how we express spirit may be molded in many different ways,
Beautiful.
at the core is very
The core.
of our heart and of our souls.
It's connected.
And it is connected. And I truly believe that. And I feel if you are fortunate that you do find that in your faith, that it's not, I actually love tradition, and I love things that we do in our churches or our synagogues or our temples that then have repetition. And in some ways you think,
That's right.
that's repetition. We're
That's
just
very
saying
good.
the same old thing.
The language of
But
art.
yes,
Language
oftentimes
of
that
art.
repetition is connected to something very human. And we forget that those words, while, divinely inspired, came from someone who had a thought or came through, and it's based on human nature.
And on that note, I want you all to hear what took my breath away from his breath. So we're going to have a listen to his song right now.
Okay. And is this the Barney clip? Or is this from the video?
Well, what would you?
This is what I would like.
What would you like? Because that's the
This is
one
what
I'm
going
going to
say.
show.
And Bernie, I'll send this to you. Well, actually, so I'll give you the transition, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Would need
so
help
as
here.
I understand, I believe this is actually.
So let me get on you.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So
like this?
Yes. So as I understand, we've shared a couple of things here. One of those, we had talked about the Barney clip, but then there is this clip from Cather County, which is poetry. It's the original writings of Willa Cather.
I love it.
And it is so very moving.
Out here in the woods, and I am all alone with just my load of goods. What happiness I've known. They say that I am lazy, but I love this world God made. And a man would be most crazy not to lie here in his shade. And since crazy I am not, I'll just lie here on this spot, underneath the mountain spire, stretching out 1,000 miles, and sing a while. Sycamores, nettles on the ground, willow shores, not a sound, while the laurels white with bloom join the pine in chestnut swaying to my tune. Out here in the cool, cushioned on God's grass. Troubles float away, and happy hours pass. And I think that I could lie right here until I gladly die. Were it not that I love living, and I love that Nellie Bly. So I guess I best get on with my living and my song. But my heart could break in two every time I tell this
And I thank you for sharing this.
We need it. I want this Humanity Matters through art. I want everyone to feel it. I want them to know you don't have to be a professional like Gaitley or professional artist. Everybody could sing in the shower. Everybody could make an art studio in their home. Everybody could heal themselves. You don't need drugs unless, okay,
No.
I'll take a disclaimer. As to my humble opinion, there are other ways. But
I will say, if I can interject leading into this, what people will see, it's the role of a bootlegger who takes a moment. He glances out over the mountains, and even though his world is upside down, he is just thankful for the moment.
Thank you. So as we bring this to a close, my last question, and I really had more, but
Yes.
we'll keep it to this. If you had to define art in one sentence after your years as an actor, director, community leader, what would you say, Gaitley?
If I have to define my work in one word,
Art. If you had to define art, maybe in one sentence, 2 sentences, what is art to you?
authenticity.
That's beautiful. Wow, on
I
that
would
note,
say authenticity.
on that note, oh my God, you can heal yourself. Tikkun olam, we call that in Hebrew, to heal the world. But you don't have to heal through medication. You can heal by going deep, by singing, by slowing down, by being authentic. Thank you so much for tuning in. I thank you. My name is Ranelle Wolf. I hope you will share this. Share the medication here to bring us a better heart and soul in unprecedented times. Thank you all, and thank you the leaders of the Holocaust Memorial Tolerance Center that I believe, in my humble opinion, is truly one of the greatest modern museums that we have in Long Island.
And I
Thank
just
you.
want to say thank you so much. It's really been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaitley. Thank you, everyone.